So, can you tell me, when you reached out to me, you were telling me about how you pretty much rallied the entire town around your production. And that was a very interesting concept because there are a lot of small towns in this country and also outside of this country, and where people Robert Rodriguez kind of did that with El Mariachi. Right. He kind of gathered. He's like, I know this Mexican town I can go and shoot in, and he gathered the locals and stuff. How did you do it, and what's the story behind that?
Right. Yeah, and I know that, as you were saying, this isn't the most unique of stories in that, I read Robert Rodriguez's film Rebel Without a Crew. Right. I remember I was a college student, probably not as good of a college student as I could have been, because I got that book and I skipped classes for 2 days and just paced my dorm room for 2 days, just racking my brain. It just
that book
blew off the doors of what I thought I had to do to make a movie.
Yeah, that book is pretty seminal in our world, in the filmmaking world.
Right. So yeah, so that's not that unique. I think a lot of people know about that book and have heard these stories before and all that. But I did practically apply that, but I took it another step further, I think, in what became kind of a case study for, what a film could potentially do. So Goodland is a real town. It's the town that I grew up in. It's the town that my parents still live in. Mm-hmm. And I knew that I wanted to set this story in a small western Kansas town. Very underrepresented, obviously, as we kind of joked about earlier, in any type of film. So I thought it was a unique setting,
Sure.
A lot of people think it's very kind of boring and barren, but for me, for a cinematic eye, I thought there was a lot of beauty to the wide open spaces. Mm-hmm. So I knew that I wanted to do that. So when I had that in mind when I wrote the script, and I also wrote the script, like we said, with Robert Rodriguez, thinking about the places that I knew I had access to, locations that I grew up around, mm-hmm. things that I knew that people who still lived in the town could give us access to, which were vehicles and any type of thing, that we needed. I knew that, or had a good idea that we could probably get that. Mm-hmm. And then when it came down to I wrote the first draft of the script, and I had, some working name on the script, and my producer was like, no, we should name this Goodland. I was like, I don't know, man. I was like, I don't know if that's, and he's like, well, to you, it's the name of your hometown, but it actually fits pretty well with the themes of the film. It's a cool name. I think that it's catchy. I think it'll work. So Jay was right. We called it Goodland, and we saw the benefits of doing that right out of the gate. We ran a Kickstarter to get get a final push, before going into production. We had most of our funding in place, but we needed just that little extra kick that you oftentimes do. Mm-hmm. So we ran a Kickstarter, and I was not expecting it to do what it did. And not that we made an obscene amount of money, but just the spread on social media, having a film called Goodland, and also being connected with so many people from my hometown. Mm-hmm. Anybody who had lived in Goodland, lives in Goodland, has driven through Goodland, lives in a town around Goodland, mm-hmm. shared the Kickstarter because they had never had a film, knew nothing, about the filmmaking process, had never had a film shot in or around or knew anything about it, and just thought it was amazing that we wanted to bring a film crew in and make this film right. in a small town, and not only just make it, but also call it Goodland. Mm-hmm. So it ended up being an unforeseen marketing advantage.
Very savvy.
Yeah, well, in hindsight, we can claim genius, but in reality, Jay thought it was a good title. Uh-huh. He may tell you differently.